very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. Welcome to the channel or welcome back. For those of you that are new, of course, I'm Anah Parreli and Lorena's Labyrinth is my baby. Now, today we're going to be talking about the crystal Pink Tourmaline. I've already loaded the one on Green Tourmaline, and if you watch the Sunday yarning, you will know that the intention was actually to do a video on watermelon tourmaline this week. But anyway, I changed it, as I do. Woman's prerogative, I think they say. And that's because I thought, really to fully comprehend the brilliance and magnificence of watermelon tourmaline, it's actually, I believe, important to understand the remarkable attributes. If we're looking for metaphysical properties, that is, if we're into the new agey type stuff of working with crystals, it's helpful to understand the pink and the green before we look at the watermelon tourmaline. Anyway, I hope I don't sound too flat today. It's because I've been busy, and you will know that if you watch the Sunday yarning as well. I've been doing a lot of work on the website. But without further ado, what I'm going to do is actually explain to the newbies here that I do put chiming chapters in the description, the body of the video that I load onto YouTube. And this is so you can jump to the parts and the areas of interest for you, because I do know my videos can tend to run a bit long, and time is premium to all people. So I'll never be offended if you don't watch all of it. However, I would ask you, please, if you can give us a thumbs up if you find at least something that you like. Now, fair warning, of course, I've got my doggy, and he does tend to be disruptive, and sometimes I have to stop and start. What can I say? Apparently, the dogs train me. There's a saying that we get the dog and we teach it and we train it. And I think what happens is, as with dogs and small children, I tend to become trained by them to respond to their needs. I say that with humour, by the way. If you can't tell, that's very dry humour on my part. But anyway, let's jump into the video for today. So what we're looking at here on this image is a particularly nice piece of pink tourmaline. It's actually massive. It's quite rare to get it of this size and of this quality. And of course, this is reflected in the price tag. So I put on there where I sourced it from, the image that is, and that it was for sale, or it was sold for nearly $1,500. I think the currency was US dollars, by the way. But before we get into talking about the attributes and other information that I'm going to give you about pink tourmaline, just a reminder that tourmaline comes in a variety of colours, and black tourmaline is shawl. Is it pronounced shawl? I'm having a bit of a I think we call it a brain fart in Australia, actually. I was trying to think of a polite way to say it, but I'll stick with brain fart. Anyway, yes, shawl. So black tourmaline is shawl, and I've already put up a video about that. It's one of my favourite crystals as well. I've got an amazing bit of it here. Green tourmaline, of course, is the video that we put up last week, and I don't actually have any of it, but I certainly would like to. We will look at red tourmaline a little bit down the track through this video, just glancing at it so that we can differentiate it from pink tourmaline and be clear about what it is that we're looking at and why we're buying it. And I'll just jump on to now, before we talk more about the specifics of pink tourmaline, I'll talk about the Zodiac. So this is one of these instances most people will be used to by now, if they've watched the videos, hearing me say that, it is recommended for certain star signs. But as far as I'm concerned, and this remains true, if you feel drawn to a particular crystal, whether it's pink tourmaline or whatever, regardless of what your star sign is, just get it, right? There's a difference also between feeling drawn to and wanting. Sometimes we can look at a crystal, like I can look at that beautiful lump of pink tourmaline from Afghanistan and think, oh wow, I would love to have that as a part of my collection, but do I actually need it? No, I don't. So, for me to go and spend $1,500 on a piece of pink tourmaline would just be completely wasteful, unless I've got a lot of disposable income. But anyway, in this particular instance, I would say, okay, when it comes to the Zodiac, tourmaline, whether it's pink, green or whatever, is going to be recommended for Libras because it's their birthstone. As far as Scorpio goes, I can understand why it would be beneficial for people with Scorpio but not just Scorpio. I would say all the water signs, because they have real heightened sensitivity and they can quite often struggle with personal insecurities. But where I'm going to be a bit different this time around is, so I actually believe it would be beneficial for those people who have a ruling number of a 13-4 or a 31/4. And that's when you add up the sum of your birth numbers, your day number, your month that you were born, you add them all up and then you get to a number. And if it comes to a 31, that gets reduced down to a 4. And if it comes to 13, that gets reduced to a 4 as well. Now, in my experience, people with a ruling number of a 13-4 or a 31/4, they actually really struggle to manage their emotional responses, and they can have quite poor impulse control, meaning that they think of something, they have it's a good idea, and they don't think about the consequences to their actions. And that's one of the benefits or the lessons of the Pink Tourmaline. It helps people to manage those impulses and think a little bit further down the track. And this is why I would say it's not just about the Zodiac today, it's actually about ruling numbers, certainly from where I sit. So when it comes to the Pink and the Green Tourmaline, they are both very much associated with love, okay? The giving and receiving of love. And the thing is, many people, I've mentioned this on a number of occasions, it seems to have come about over the last, say, 10 years, where people think of the heart chakra and they think only of the green. Well, the thing is that the green and the pink have got different healing attributes. So when we're talking about the emerald green, we're talking about the capacity to love and forgive other people and hold compassion and empathy towards them. But the pink is about doing the same for ourselves. And the bottom line is, realistically, the pink is far more important than the green, because if we're not able to do that self-love and self-forgiveness and self-acceptance, we're going to struggle to be able to build relationships with other people with any sort of firm connection. And that's because we will probably lack empathy. The capacity to be able to self-love is this awareness of who and what we are, and that we are all works in progress, and that includes us. And quite often people will be able to see and forgive other people because they have compassion and empathy. Oh, it's not their fault is a prime example. They had a really rough childhood and now they lack communication skills. So we make allowances and we forgive them for not being perfect in our idea of what perfection is. But when it comes to ourselves, when we do the same thing, we judge ourselves very harshly and very critically because we think we should know better. Okay, especially if we're able to have empathy and compassion to other people, we become frustrated and disappointed in ourselves for not achieving our ideals of perfection and expectation. So when we talk about the pink, and this is particularly the Pink Tourmaline, this is a case of actually extending the same high regard to ourselves as we would to anybody else, because looking at that mirror is a good way to learn. So what it does, Pink Tourmaline from Metaphysical Overview helps us to be able to extend love to ourselves, love, compassion, forgiveness, and just being kind. When we fail to meet our own expectations, instead of beating ourselves up, go, okay, that's where it becomes okay, that was a bit of a mistake. That's where that hyphenated thing comes in. I made a mistake, but that's okay, because I get more opportunities to do it right next time. And if I don't get it right the first time, that's okay, because if I keep trying and I keep practicing, I'm going to get it right at the end of the day. Life is a journey of trial, error, decisions, and so forth. So it's about being kind and compassionate to ourselves. So when it comes to buying tourmaline, this is where the mineral information, or any crystal, the mineral information is important, because we kind of learn not only how to buy it or select it and get the real deal to buy the authentic crystal, but we also learn how to care for it based on the information that we receive. So because Pink Tourmaline has got a hardness, and I did see differing opinions about it, but it's believed to be, I'm going to stick with, I think it's about a 7 to a 7.5. Now, it does come in a range of colours, or a range of pinks. Some are lighter, some are darker, some are very pale. As we saw, the one from Afghanistan has almost a lilac-y pink to it. It's particularly beautiful. I don't think it's particularly rare. I think it's reasonably common. It's the quality that becomes rare. When you're looking at these particularly translucent crystals, they will be more rare than some of the other varieties of pink tourmaline that we find. So you can see that it's translucent to opaque. Now, the interesting thing about all the pink and the green tourmaline is actually the way it's structured. I'm not going to use the big words because I've got to be clear here. I am not a geologist. I'm not a gemologist. This is just information I, as a layperson with a love of crystals, will actually look at. And so for me, what stays in my brain is that it's got this striated type texture to it, which is kind of lines that run up and down it. But the other thing when it comes to this translucent type tourmaline is that it has some kind of visual effect that when you actually hold it up to the light horizontal and turn it around, there comes a point as you turn it where even though it's translucent, it becomes opaque, okay, and because it blocks out the light because of the way the crystals are structured. What other points have I got here? Just that you can find it at various locations throughout the world. You might be able to add to these. I know certainly when I look at this that here in Australia we have pink tourmaline, but we're not a major producer on the global stage, shall we say. The other thing to point out too before we go on to the next slide is that when we're talking about pink tourmaline, we have to differentiate it from red tourmaline. And so quite often when you're actually doing your Google for images, this was me, images of pink tourmaline, I was coming across the term rubellite. Rubellite is red tourmaline. It's very pink, I might add. That I'll show you some images on the next slide. I can understand why people call it pink tourmaline, but it's actually different. So if you look at these images here, the only one that's pink tourmaline or considered to be pink tourmaline by definition is the one on the right-hand side. And you can see compared to the other three, it's paler. The rubellite is said to be red tourmaline. And what was I going to say about that? To my eye, it looks more like a fuchsia pink. I'm talking about the flower, the beautiful deep fuchsia pink. That's what the rubellite looks like to me. So it's not red to me, it's still pink, but by classification my understanding is that it is a completely separate crystal. It is not known as pink tourmaline, and that should help you to be able to differentiate when you do your buying. In regard to buying tips, I probably should put up here, look, just the standard ones are know what you're buying, ask for the source, try and buy from a verifiable seller. There's a lot out there on the market, and not all of it's good quality, I might add, and I believe it can be faked. So if you go to a verifiable seller, you're in with a good chance of getting the real deal. The other thing is to know your weight, know the currency that you're buying in, ask questions about the freight, look for the hidden costs if you can. I've been looking at some of those platforms at the moment, the Etsy's and all of that are selling a lot of crystals right now. And what I've observed is there's no real way to actually contact the seller and ask some of those questions, which is, where'd you source it from? What country did you get it from? Who sold it to you? Not that you've got to be careful. They will never want to give away who their wholesalers are, but you want to be able to get an idea of what mine site, because you and I, we can't just contact the mine site and say, look, I'd like to buy a couple of crystals if you don't mind, because they sell it out bulk to these wholesalers. But a verifiable seller will actually be able to tell you which mine site it came from, which helps to verify the validity of the actual crystal. But yeah, I don't necessarily recommend buying off these platforms at the moment, not until they fix up quality assurance, I guess. So now let's take a look at the metaphysical benefits or the metaphysical attributes. In the first instance, I like to look at the spiritual stuff, okay? And I've forgotten to put this on the slide here, but if you're into angels, I would say that it's connected to Archangel Samuel, okay, who oversees the heart chakra. But either way, Pink Tourmaline is associated with the divine feminine, and we're talking about the qualities that are believed to be the soft, the gentle, the nurturing, the mother type love, that intuitive, compassionate, forgiving, accepting aspect of energy. And so based on that, we would say that if a person's, done the life path of hard knocks and become a bit hardened along the way, this energy will actually help to rub some of that hardness off to allow the person to walk in the truth of who they are, which is loving. We're all loving. We all seek love, to be loved and to be loving and to be perceived as lovable, I want to make the point here too that when we're talking about the divine feminine, we're also talking about the divine mother, and mother does have protection as well. So the green tourmaline is considered to be a masculine stone, and that's like father protection, where mother protection tends to be more intuitive and more aware about people and personalities, I guess, being able to recognize when and sensitive to other people's emotional responses. So it helps to build the empathy that way as well. And so therefore it's said to enhance relationships and make them more warm and more loving. It's beneficial for dreams and dream recollection and to recall past life. And when we talk about past life, don't forget that past life can include events that have transpired within our current life, but it's like yesterday's stuff. All tourmaline is considered to act as a conduit or a conductor of energy as well. If you were a metaphysician and you were conducting crystal healing treatments, you could use your tourmaline as a conductor of other energy. So it's believed to activate and open the psychic gifts, more so the intuitive ones, I would say, and to engender feelings of this sense of oneness. When we talk about, or when a lot of people talk about spiritual goals, they talk about unity and oneness with the creator and the divine. Well, the pink tourmaline is said to help with that. It's also said to protect a person against negativity of all sorts, including psychic attack. So it's promoted as a protective talisman, and it's also what is considered to be a shamanic stone, and you can use it during your rituals or your blessings and ceremony, things like that, ritualistic type stuff that you like to do. I just want to be clear here. People think of ritual and sometimes they get a little bit scared. But when I do rituals, and I don't do them all the time, but every now and again, let's say I'm trying to manifest something or I really want to upgrade the energy of something, I might do a little ceremony and, which is sit with it, do an invocation, send light and all of that to some kind of loving thing. And it's probably more often than not to the creator, to the angels and guides, as a thank you. You know what I mean? Acknowledgement and thank you for the blessings seen and unseen. So anyway, pink tourmaline is also believed to be a crystal of centering and grounding, helping a person to really anchor. It's the pink ray. Actually, somebody mentioned it with and I don't think I mentioned it with the green tourmaline, but yes, the green tourmaline would be for the green ray. And when we're talking about light rays, we channel it. We act as a conductor ourselves, and we bring that light energy in through ourselves, through our crown, down through our body and into the feet. It's called grounding that energy of the ray onto the earth plane. So we can do that with pink tourmaline to enhance the process. You can do it without it, but having the pink tourmaline is going to assist with that. And it's also going to enhance, obviously, your own personal and spiritual growth and raise your vibration. Just had to check my notes. Also, it's part of expanding this consciousness of connectedness between each other, that we're all part of something much greater, and so that we work toward the highest possible outcomes and good for all of the people on the planet and not just ourselves. Although I've got to come back to Pink Tourmaline actually is very much associated with self. But, when you're connected to the mother energy, you know that there is a certain amount of selfishness. It's like filling the cup up. When you fill your cup up and you're looking after yourself, then you're better placed to be able to be loving to other people. So the feminine energy is one about fill your cup up, because then you've got more to give to other people. But if you're running on empty, you've got nothing to give. So there is being self-caring is not necessarily being selfish. I guess that's what I'm trying to explain. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking at this slide, because I recognize that, time is of the essence and I'm getting a bit carried away here. What you can do is actually pause it. I don't have a huge script here or transcript that I'm working off to do this video. I actually have these slides pretty well filled out so that people can just click and shift on to the next one. But you can see by looking at this that it is actually very much aligned with women's health issues. It certainly can be helpful to men as well, but at the same time, when you're talking about hormonal problems, endocrine, immunity, women tend to suffer from conditions like thyroid more than men. All of these kind of things are very female related. So what can I say here? Yes, it's recognised for women's health issues, the cycles, if they've got menopause problems, the nervous system. Women tend to have more anxiety type, or be diagnosed, actually. That would be the interesting thing. Perhaps women are overrepresented because a lot of men don't actually go to the doctors and get it checked out. Then, of course, it's supposed to be beneficial for things like psoriasis and eczema. Actually, when it comes to things like kidney stones, I believe men get them more than women do as well. So anyway, you can see there is a wide variety of physical health attributes. It tends to come into its own when we're talking about the emotional and mind metaphysical benefits, because it's considered to be a stone of personal transformation. And with that, I suppose any women that are watching this will probably find this relatable, that women tend to have a very low self-image of themselves and struggle to accept themselves as who and what they are. I think actually many men would agree with this as well, given the amount of plastic surgery so many young women are getting. So it leads to acceptance of yourself, being able to love yourself and have compassion. Now, loving yourself does not have to be obsessed with yourself, okay? That's an imbalance in itself, okay? That self-love is the kindness and compassion that I was talking about before. So it also helps to forgive yourself of what you consider to be your imperfections. From an emotional perspective, it's said to purify and detoxify these old emotional wounds, including trauma, but particularly childhood trauma, and removing unloving thoughts. So it enhances emotional processing. From a mood perspective, it is considered to be a stabilizer. It helps to calm these anger or angry and volatile mood swings. It balances it. If I can speak, if you're struggling to maintain a zest for life and feeling a bit down, then it's going to help alleviate depression. As I mentioned before, it does help regulate impulse control, and it will reinvigorate your entire sense of hope, your trust in life as well. So it's said to soothe the anxiety and nervous disorders. I'm so sorry, I'm struggling over my words, because it helps to clarify any internal confusion that's going on. And women struggle with this as quite a bit as well. That's where the mind is telling us one thing and the heart is telling us something else. We don't want to give up on the people that we love, because we think that to take a step back might be a final ending. So quite often women can stay in unhealthy situations because they don't want to have that ending. But the thing is, sometimes they do need to step back so that that person can pursue their path. It doesn't have to be a final ending, but there becomes a release there and a calmness, and a recognition, where it's no longer confusing. So the other thing is too that pink tourmaline is said to shield against all sorts of negativity, including negative thoughts and negative emotions. If a person's been struggling with grief and loss, it's said to help ease some of that emotional pain, and it's believed to activate a person's receptivity to having love. A lot of the time, I want you to think about this when I mention this. A lot of people, let's say, okay, it is love, or it might not be love. When people offer kindness to perhaps you might turn around and say, oh, no, it's okay, it's fine, thank you anyway, but no, I'm fine. Well, that's you actually blocking receptivity. So when somebody offers to do something nice for you, the appropriate response is to say thank you very much. If you don't need what they are giving you, sometimes I've had it where they might be giving me clothes, actually. I was sorting out my wardrobe and I thought, you might want these clothes, and you're looking at them thinking, well, I absolutely don't, thank you very much. But you also, for me, I know that people like to give, and if I say no to them, then that becomes a block, shall we say. So the appropriate response is, well, look, thank you very much. I'm not sure that I actually can use them myself, but I'll be sure to have a look through, and what I don't need, I will give to St. Vinny's or something like that. Is that okay with you? And they might turn around and say, well, no, have a look through now and I'll take them down to St. Vinny's. If there's anything there that you like, take it out. And you have a look and then you go, oh, thank you, but no thank you. You know what I mean? So you're not actually blocking their gifting process, and you're not actually blocking yourself from receiving, because you've been open to receive and there has been nothing there for you to need, if that makes sense. Just going to check my notes for a moment. Okay, before I go on, I just want to mention that it's actually recommended for children, especially if they're really sensitive children, and also for people that have got inner child issues from their childhood. And it's also recommended for mums and babies, especially when you've got a new baby, when they've just given birth, to enhance the bonding experience. It's recommended also for people with PTSD as part of reducing their symptoms and helping them to navigate and release their emotions in healthy and safe ways, and to rebuild trust after they've experienced betrayal. What else have I got? Also recommended for those people that suffer from paranoia, high stress, depression conditions. If you've got OCD, it is recommended that you use your pink tourmaline with your black tourmaline to really ground it. Failing that, if you can't access either of them, I would recommend rhodonite, which is the pink and black crystal as well. That's another one you could use for that. Anyway, if you're wanting to have protection against nightmares or do dream recollection, then you would just pop a little piece under your pillow or near your bed, close to your bed at night time when you go to sleep. So when it comes to the chakras, it's believed to link the heart chakra to the crown chakra, which makes sense because you aren't talking about power of thought and you're talking about power of love, and the intention. And it's believed to act as a gateway, or gateway is the best way of describing it, to open the pathways to experience more love, more very deep love, more divine love, okay, which is important. So it's also believed that this heart chakra connects on an etheric level with the person's astral body. So that is opening up the entire aura, shall we say, not just your chakras, but your entire aura, to being able to receive more love and therefore experience more of those positive traits of self-image and self-forgiveness that we've already talked about. So as far as uses go, most of the images I've shown you today, they've been those translucent crystals, absolutely stunning, that actually really wouldn't be suitable to be ornamental unless they're in a specimen box and in a display case. However, the image that we're looking at here is once again pink tourmaline, tourmaline, but it's not such high grade, and you can see it's actually clusters, and it's absolutely stunning. Now that would make a wonderful ornament or in the environment, where it would actually be able to purify any negativity that's in the environment as well, and help to raise that vibration of love in the space. Now, tourmaline is going to need a little bit of extra care. We'll talk about that in a moment if you're using it as a purifier. If you're using it for meditation purposes and holding, you could hold a big bit like this, or you could hold the other bits, the smaller specimens. Obviously, the beautiful specimens make wonderful jewellery items. Apparently, they've got to be cut in a certain way to make sure that you get the best of them when they're in their setting. And the other thing is that, you could wear it on your person, probably in a pouch. If you don't have it as a jewellery item, a little pouch on your body might be the perfect option. I'm one of those that always recommend the bra. I can't help it. But the thing with, as you would know, that if you put it in your bra as a loose item, it may actually drop out. And of course, I've mentioned that you could put it under your pillow. Now, that once again, that becomes a little bit tricky as I think about it. If you're wanting to do your dream recollection, the point being, if it's a small item, you can easily lose them under the bed if it rolls off the bed. So probably in a pouch is the best idea for that as well. So I guess in many ways I've kind of spoken about this as I've gone through the course of the video. What is the messages of the pink kunzite, not pink kunzite, probably for the pink kunzite as well, but definitely the pink tourmaline, is that, it's okay to be kind to yourself. And in fact, if you're really super drawn to it, it could be saying to you that you're being a little bit oversensitive. If you are experiencing emotional turbulence and reactivity and all the rest of it, then it's time to actually go within and take emotional responsibility for how you feel, and to stop expecting other people to accommodate your emotional needs, but learn to be emotionally mature and responsible yourself. And that starts with filling your own cup up. So practice filling up your cup, learning how to love yourself while at the same time not in an exclusive way, understanding that loving yourself is about filling your cup with love, and then you're able to give more love to other people. And most of the time we see this for mums neglecting their own needs and their own emotional needs because they're accommodating the needs of their children or their partners or spouses. And in fact, actually, people that care for the elderly, if they've got an elderly family member living at home as well, then it would be a reminder to them that, it's okay to take time out, do some meditation work, do something that allows you to restore your cup to being full, because otherwise you're operating on empty, and that's not helpful to you or to the people that you love. So it's about self-care. Now, I would also say, because I've actually mentioned Archangel Michael here, not Archangel Michael, I mentioned Archangel Chamuel on one of the other slides. But yes, actually, I think I would work with Michael and Chamuel. Michael to cut negative away from the aura at a cellular level, Michael to really enhance the protection, and Chamuel to give you healing, to open your heart in fullness to the giving and receiving of unconditional love, including self-love. Okay, that's a key thing there, okay? So one of the things I forgot to mention when we were talking about the properties of pink tourmaline is that actually, as far as environmental protection goes, it's supposed to protect against electromagnetic pollution and radiation. So what we're talking about there is if you've got a house underneath power lines or whatever, then you would want to have that big lump of pink tourmaline around you, because that's supposed to shield you from it. And now, if you're going to do that kind of stuff, you've got to cleanse and recharge your pink tourmaline. I don't like the idea of this tip, okay, but somebody said bury it in the earth overnight to discharge any accumulated negative energy that's in it. From my perspective, I just, I know they come from the earth, but I'm always concerned about putting crystals back into the earth, depending on what that host rock is as well. I mean, I would probably be more inclined to put it on top of the earth overnight, actually, so that it gets exposure to the moon and stars. And when I say that, I mean within a pot plant. Other things that I am aware of is that you can build a bridge over your tourmaline if you've got a cluster like that. What I do with my black tourmaline is I've got a very small piece of selenite, like a little stick, and on that I actually have touching it the purple, a little piece of purple amethyst and a little piece of orange carnelian as part of keeping the tourmaline cluster in peak condition. Saging is always an option to people. People love saging or Palo Santo. They love to burn that off as part of purifying the environment and the crystals that are within it. You probably have different suggestions yourself. For me to do a recharge, definitely the selenite. I can't think of anything else offhand. Just if I've got jewelry items, I would always steer clear of chemicals and immersing it in those ultrasonic cleansers. But I'm going to put this over to you guys and let you come back at me with a couple of tips for a change. Let me know what your suggestions might be. That would be helpful, especially if you end up with one of those beautiful pink clusters that I had on the other slide, where it's got the white matrix and then you've got the pink clusters of tourmaline within it. I didn't bother to check what that white was. I wonder if it's quartz, might even be clear calcite, I'm not sure, in which case it's not going to cope with water immersion. Just saying it out there. So yeah, if you've got some information, please do make a comment and let the rest of us know. So my friends, it wasn't as short a video as I thought it would be. It's still fairly long, but either way, that's about the nth of the information I can give you today, certainly about Pink Tourmaline. I look forward to hearing your responses. I thank you for being part of my journey. I will catch you on the next video. And for now, I'm going to say have a blessed day, blessed week. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye for now.